Welcome back to the third episode of Shrimperstalks. Today's guest racked up 735 appearances for Blues, scoring 11 goals and picking up just 2 yellow cards in one campaign in the 04-05 season, being awarded Player of the Year, topped off with a playoff final win against Lincoln City at the Millennium Stadium. It's Shrimpers legend Adam Barrett. Adam, thank you for joining us today. It's a delight to have you with us. I wanted to start today by talking about your career in general, not just Southend. You're currently at Millwall. A lot of time spent there with Neil Harris. What's it been like at Millwall being a coach with Neil for a period of time?
First of all, thank you very much for having me on. Pleasure to be on here and talk to someone else during this lockdown period. Hope everyone's safe and well. Back to the Millwall. Obviously, I've been there over 3 years now as first team coach and worked under Neil, another local lad who I'd known a long time but never worked with him. So it's a great learning curve for me to retiring from Southend and then going into a really good job. Had a promotion straight away from League One into the Championship, and had a couple of really good years there. So learning all the time, thoroughly enjoying it. It's a very, very good football club behind the scenes as well. Really look after people. And now obviously the new manager Gary Rowett come in, and we're having a really strong run under him. And like I said, I'm now learning off someone else and thoroughly enjoying working under an experienced Championship manager, and things are going really well at the moment up until obviously the pandemic that's hit us.
And also you've had a few successes as well with Millwall, of course. You've had Brighton in the quarterfinals, unfortunately missing out on penalties, I believe. What would it mean to your club to be able to progress to the Premier League?
I think the Premier League's the holy grail. It's we're a smaller club in the Championship. And to get there would mean everything. It's we're coming up against big teams, big budgets, but to try and get to the Premier League for us will be an unbelievable achievement. Like I said, we've only been in this our third season back in the Championship. The first year we just missed out on the playoffs. Last year was a tough second year, but we survived and stayed up and learnt a lot. And this year again we're finishing strong and in the mix. So if we could get there, it would be a great achievement from everyone, the hard work that's gone in behind the scenes. We've got a fantastic group of players. The staff are all working extremely hard. And like I said, it's the ultimate, it's the ultimate to get there. And as staff and as players, that's what we're working extremely hard to do so. But, for a club of our size to get up to the Premier League would be an unbelievable achievement.
And there's also, as you said earlier, the pandemic that's hit us. If the season was to be restarted, whether it be behind closed doors or resumed in a few months' time, do you think that your club, whereabouts do you think you'll finish in the league table?
It's difficult. There's so many different scenarios going around at the moment, so many different things that have got to be put in place for the season to continue. I really hope it is. Because like I said, at the moment we're 2 points off playoffs, and I thought just before the pandemic hit and football got shut down, we were the team, for me, looking like that we were going to go and get in there. We got a good run in towards the end of the season, fixture wise. We were definitely hitting a little bit of form. We put a great performance in against Nottingham Forest on the telly away, and we were starting to. The confidence was there, the belief was there. A few of the teams around us were stuttering and falling by the wayside and in some indifferent results. So I was very, very confident. 9 games to go, it's all to play for, and we're a club when we've got the momentum now, the backing of the den, it's a difficult place to come. I really fancy our chances to certainly be in and around it and hopefully sneak one of them playoff places. With obviously the way it is now, who knows? We don't know what the schedule's going to be when we go back. But like I said, there's 9 games to go. If we can go back, then we're right in there, and we've got, like I said, a real good group. Everyone's hungry to get to that next level and succeed. And so, it's all there to play for, and we're definitely a club that are going to roll our sleeves up, and we've got the group that are going to roll our sleeves up and fight for one of them spots.
And the Den, as you said, is quite a tough ground to come to. There's a lot of big clubs as well, as you mentioned, Nottingham Forest, Leeds, West Bromwich Albion. Who do you think's been the hardest team that you've welcomed to the Den this season?
I think the top two are the best two teams. When you look at Leeds, thankfully, I mean we managed to beat them at the Den, but the way Bielsa's got the team that the intensity that they play at from the first minute to the last is, they just run all over you. They're such an athletic, hard working. They've got good ability as well, but they work extremely hard. Anyone who watches them, they're full tilt for 90 minutes, and I think probably as a neutral, they're probably the most exciting team to watch in the Championship. West Brom have got so much quality going forward that they can score goals at any moment of the game from various different positions on the pitch. So they're a threat. But I think the top two for me have been the best, and that's why they are where they are. And but I think Leeds are probably the toughest opponent. Just they don't give you a rest. You've got to be at it from the first whistle to the last. Another team that really impressed me is Brentford. When Brentford get it going on the day as well, they've got so much quality, and they've proved this year, and they did against us away. They can turn the game on very very quickly, and they've got guys that can win a match out of nothing. But top two definitely West Brom and Leeds for me.
And it was quite a big transition for you, obviously, retiring from your playing career, moving into a managerial role, a coaching role, I should say. And what was it like for you, obviously, moving from Southend to Millwall? Fairly close rivalry there. Was it a tough decision for you to make?
Yeah, of course it was difficult because I never thought I'd be leaving Southend. When I come back for the second time, absolutely. Fantastic to come back and get the promotion and stabilise in League One. And I'm really, really happy. And unfortunately, things didn't work out and it sort of become untenable for us. And then I got a great opportunity. Millwall come along, and it was an opportunity I had to take to go into the coaching, which is what I wanted to do. I want to be a manager one day. I've made no secret about that. And this was a great stepping stone and a learning curve for me to go and work in first team environment at a good football club, and a club that was really on the up and trying to achieve something, and to go in there. So it was a great opportunity for me. I was really sad to leave Southend because, like I said, I didn't think I would be, but that's football. These things happen, as we all know. But on the other side, I was excited to start my new career and a new challenge. And like I said, so far, since I've been there, it's all gone very, very well, and completed my pro licence, which the club helped me do, and they've been very, very supportive. So, from a personal point of view, it's been a really good move and one which I'm still thoroughly enjoying.
And prior to the new season or the current season starting, there were a few rumours circulating that there could be a potential return on the cards for you and Steve Tilson. Would that ever come to your mind about joining Southend back in the managerial role?
I think every time the job's come up, I've been rumoured for it. And I suppose naturally, with my links to the club and where I'm at in my career now, like I said, I've made no secret of the fact I want to be a manager. That's where I wanted to be. And like I said, I've for 3 years now learning at a good football club under a couple of different managers. Gone and got my pro licence, so fully qualified and done me sort of apprenticeship, as they say. So no, like I said, who knows in football? I don't know. I mean, I'd love to come back to Southend at one day. Of course I would. It's my club, and it's a club that very, very special to me. But like I said, you just don't know. But you can't say no to anything. You can't rule anything out. I want to be a manager, and if an opportunity come up in the future, then it's definitely something that I'd be interested in and look at.
And let's move on to your Southend playing career. For roughly 6 years, you were with us in your first spell. A couple of really key moments there. Obviously, back-to-back promotions were absolutely outstanding. But what for you stood out most in that first spell?
The first spell was just a great time to be at the football club. I think the team that Steve Tilson and Paul Brush put together, it was full of strong characters but real hungry group of players that all wanted to improve, all wanted to get to the next level and prove themselves. unbelievable team spirit. You know, the fans, everywhere. It just felt like everyone was in it together. The whole place, it was buzzing week in, week out. And for them, you know, not just the 2 years, but you know, we had the championship, then we come back down, but then the following year and we were back in the playoffs. You know, for four years, the cup games. It was just a special period to be involved with a football club, and one for me, as in grown up and watching the Blues, and to finally be out there and taking part in a crucial bit of the club's history was so special, and you know, still one of the most enjoyable moments of my career.
And growing up, obviously, as you said, a local lad watching Southend, what did it mean to you finally getting that senior contract with Blues in 2004?
Yeah, it meant an awful lot. Used to go and watch Southend with my mates, standing on the North Bank. You know, I had some great memories and absolutely loved it. You know, we was all football mad, and you know, used to be able to walk to the stadium from my mum and dad's house, which was great. Obviously, my career took me away for a little bit. I was at Bristol Rovers at the time. I was captain there for 2 years previous, and they'd offered me a new deal. My wife was very happy and settled in Bristol. She had a nice job, and you know, we were happy down there. And I just got a call totally out of the blue. Weren't expecting it. I'd agreed a new deal in principle with Bristol Rovers, and I got a call out of the blue from Paul Brush. Said that there was interest, and as soon as I knew that there was interest from Southend, you know, it was there was only one place I wanted to go, and I was absolutely delighted to finally come back. They offered me less money. I was on less money at Southend than what Bristol was. My wife was asking questions. What am I crazy? What am I doing? But she knew that, you know, my love for the club and my desire to come back and finally play for them was too strong, and you know, it was a dream come true to finally, you know, sign a deal at the club, and then the hard work start, and it just felt right. I just had such a good feeling about coming back, and you know, I was delighted to sign.
And a few key moments in your career in general, both the first and second spell. In the second spell, we saw that playoff final win in dramatic style, where we also saw you score your penalty, debatably the best one in the shootout. What was it like for you going and playing at the new Wembley?
I think it's every boy's dream, isn't it, playing at Wembley? I mean, I grew up with the old Wembley, and it was a magical place, and unfortunately, I was getting to a stage where I didn't think I was going to play there. I've been at Cardiff a couple of times when Wembley was getting rebuilt. And I think to be at the stage of the career I was at, you know, 35, 36, and you sort of wonder, have I missed my time to play there? But to get there with my hometown club at the stage of the career I was at was, you know, very, very special for me. It was an occasion which I really took in. You know, I don't think at early 20s, mid 20s, you really appreciate it. But I think because of the age I was at and the stage I was at in my career, I really did appreciate the day. And I just soaked it all up, and I found it quite emotional as well to be there with Southend, to have all my family there. We had a couple of illnesses in the family at the time, so to have my mum and my father-in-law there was extra special. And obviously to get the result and scoring the penalty shootout, it was just you know, an unbelievable day, and you know, a roller coaster of emotions, I think, for the supporters as well as players. You know, I don't think you could write that script, and I still get goosebumps when you talk about it now, when Pigs have got the equaliser and then you had to step up and take your penalty. But it was, for me, it was a real, you know, cherry on the top of the cake for my career, and it was to do it back at my hometown club just made it perfect.
And what was it like for you and your family? Obviously, some really key moments throughout your career. The title win, the playoffs at the Millennium Stadium at Wembley. What was it like for you and your family to see you sort of progress as a footballer from at a young age?
Well, obviously for me it was, you know, it's all I ever wanted to do, and all the hard work that you put in behind the scenes, all the dedication, all the sacrifices you made to actually go and play football for as long as I did, you know, nearly 20 years as a professional and the 700 games. I'm extremely proud of that. But I couldn't have done that without, you know, the support of my family, my mum and dad, my wife, my brother, you know, all the family, mother and father-in-law. They've been so supportive, and without their help and their support and their backing, it would never have happened. So for all of us to enjoy their moments, because you have a few downs as well in football. It's not all ups, and they're the ones to pick you up. They're the ones that see your disappointments and the hard times. So when you do get the good times, it's fantastic to be able to share that with them all. And I'm a family man, very, very close, and we're a tight-knit group. So to share that with everyone makes it extra special.
And I think as well, Southend United as a club, I think we've always been fairly successful in recent years as such, in the last few decades. What was it like for you growing up watching Southend, both playing for them in two different spells? The last few seasons, obviously, we have struggled with relegation and survival. Obviously, back in November, we were sat around ninth place, pushing for a playoff place, and then it all sort of crumbled towards the end, and we had to do it dramatically on that final day. What was it like for you watching that unfold?
It was quite difficult because I'm a supporter and played for the club for many years and had so many great nights there, and it's the first result I look for when I come in after my games, and to see the club really struggle, it's like anyone, it's not nice to see. I don't want to see it. I think when the club's doing well, the town's buzzing, it makes everyone feel good. There's an energy about the place, so to see it struggle the way it has done over the last 18 months has been difficult, and I just hope the club can, get stabilise and start to move forward again. But, there's been a lot of problems and things well quoted, and yeah, it's not nice to see. Like I said, it's important to so many people in the area, and you want to see the local team do well. I want to see my club do well. There's no better feeling than seeing Southend do well. I've got a lot of friends and family that go to games, and it's horrible when you speak to them. All they're doing is moaning. I want to see some smiles on faces, but yeah, it's been difficult, and I just hope that the club can, whatever happens, whether the league finishes and if they get relegated or stay up and they cancel the league, whatever happens, I just want to see the club now, get a proper plan in place, get a real structure in place, and hopefully move forward.
I think as well, relegation was very much on the cards this season. We sort of needed a miracle for us to survive, which could possibly have been done with the players we had. It was looking unlikely. However, what do you think, obviously going back down to League Two, it is often labelled the hardest league in the EFL. Obviously, we saw with Leyton Orient, we've seen before, going straight down back into the National League, the crumble of their club, unfortunately, a club with a lot of background with us, but a great history. Do you think that we'd be able to bounce back up in a few seasons' time?
Yeah, I think the important thing is, if the club do get relegated, I just touched on it, I think there's got to be a proper structure and a plan put in place to move the club forward sensibly and long term as well. There's no quick fixes in football. It comes back to bite you. If the club do go down, they can't just think, because it's a big club in League Two, they're going to bounce straight back up. There's got to be a real plan in place behind the scenes. There's going to be a hell of a lot of hard work. And they've got to make sure. I think the club at the moment's been on the slide probably for 18 months to 2 years, and it needs to stabilise. It needs to almost put a stop to it and start to rebuild in small steps. And if it takes, a couple of years to get back up, whatever it is, then so be it. But I think the important thing is the club is sound behind the scenes. Like I said, a real structure is put in place, a proper plan put in place for the playing side and off the field to move the club forward. For the long-term future of the football club as well, to make sure it's done sensibly, and hopefully, it can do. The club can snowball and it can move pretty quickly if you get things right. But I think there's got to be a little bit of patience. Like I said, when a football club's been in decline for a while now, there has to become a stopgap, a stop to it, and right, okay, let's reassess everything. Make sure we put things in place, put the groundwork in place to now start to build it up. So, it's got all the potential to move forward again. Of course it has, and I hope it does, and I'm sure it will do. But it's going to take a hell of a lot of hard work, and, the right recruitment, the right people have got to come through the door to make sure that it moves forward in the right way.
And you touched it briefly there, some of the steps we need to do to rebuild and sort of get back to where we belong. I think one of the things that was put in place was the new stadium. Obviously, you were at the club in your first spell when that was announced that they were looking into it, and that we've got the so-called go-ahead plans. 10 years later, we've just been given a second go-ahead. What do you think? How big would that be for the club? Obviously, we've seen with the likes of MK Dons, not very many fans filling out their stadiums. Do you think it would affect the atmosphere?
I think that Roots Hall is, it's a special place for me and always will be, and I know for a lot of people, because so many great memories there. And I think for the club to move forward, it does need the new ground. That's just the way football is now. Unfortunately, Roots Hall is old and facility-wise, and the club can maximise a lot more out of a new facility. But it doesn't mean just because you go and get a new ground that all of a sudden you're going to be a championship football club. And I think that's really important. There's so much work to be done behind that. Don't just think because you get a bright new shiny stadium that all of a sudden everything just falls into place. Like I said, you've got to make sure behind the scenes there things are right, the planning's right, the structure for the most important things, what goes on the pitch. There's no point having a brand new stadium and, like you said, that you're not filling it, or it's empty because performances are poor, or you're dropping down the leagues. So the most important thing is the football team, and get that right. But then if you've got the stadium to facilitate that and everything else, and things are moving on the up, then it could be, really, really good for the football club. I think the club needs it, but like I said, that's just one part. You can't just look at that and think, oh, we've cracked it now because we've got a new stadium. You've got to make sure what goes in the stadium is what's going to draw people in and bring revenue and money and attract better players. But it will definitely help. And Southend, if it gets going, I remember, my first spell especially, in Roots Hall, nearly sold out every week and big crowds. And when I used to go and watch as a kid, you're getting 10, 11,000 in there, and in a new stadium you always attract more people if you're doing well. So, it's always got a good fan base, great catchment area. So I do believe if the club can get it right on the football pitch with a new stadium in place, then the potential there to move the club forward, like you've seen at the clubs like Swansea and Hull and places like that, it can have a big effect. But I think it's so important. Don't just think a new stadium's there and we're up and running. There's a lot of work to be done behind it.
And we've seen the introduction of some youth players while we're looking to rebuild to sort of get our stabilise again. Are there any young players that have come through the system that have really stood out for you? We've seen the likes of Charlie Kelman, who's often in this season especially become a starter for nearly every game, and Kenny Coco, who's coming through the ranks. He's started to appear more and more before obviously all this started. So who's stood out for you most in recent years coming out of the academy system?
Obviously coming through, you had Dan Bentley come through, me, young Drew Yearwood. Elvis has now gone on to establish himself. Like you spoke about, Charlie, Kenny Coker come through, young Tom Clifford, the left back. So, it's been fantastic that, these guys are getting an opportunity now. But I think it proves as well that they need help. These young players need help as well. It's not just, you can't just throw them in and expect everything's going to be all right. And they need good senior players around them to help them. They need a bit of experience there. So I think it's been quite difficult for them. I think it's been a bit of a breath of fresh air to see them come in, because the club's been struggling. So it needed a positive and needed something. And the young lads have come in and all stood up to the plate. But results have still been poor. So you need that balance. You need that balance to go and help these lads to make they're still developing, so they need the best environment to reach their potential. And you can't put too much on their shoulders. I think we see it with young Drew. Drew come on and unfortunately for Drew, he had a fantastic impact at the start and then started to dip. There was a lot of pressure on the young lad and the expectation on him, and that's where he needs help around him. And I think it's important when you've got young lads coming in that you've got to help them, you've got to protect them, and you've got to bring them through the right way for their own development, because it can ruin you before you even started. So, but it's great to see. It's great to see, Academy, Ricky Duncan do a fantastic job there in bringing youngsters through, and it's good to see that there is youngsters coming through the system, and they're probably going to be needed more than ever now, because we don't know the financial state of football when we come back. So I think a lot of academies are going to be called upon probably more. But like I said, it's still important that you get the right ones around them to make sure that they can reach their potential.
And I think we've really seen how strong-minded some of the players have been this season coming in. Obviously, some of them starting for the first time, a lot of new positions having to take hold as well. I think, especially with recent news about Ted Smith retiring from football and taking on a coaching and a goalkeeping business, which is really sad to see. Obviously, a really bright talent, looked to have a massive future ahead of him. Unfortunately, social media did affect that in the end. Do you think that there's enough mental support for players these days, and was there when you were around playing football too?
I think it's an area of the game which is definitely getting better, and it's highlighted an awful lot more now, and people are open to talk about it. When I come into the game and throughout most of my career, there was nothing. Never see anyone open up or talk about issues like that. It was probably seen as a weakness back then, which is wrong. Almost a bit macho, can't admit that you've got a problem or you've got issues, or which everyone went through at stages. I went through tough times in my career as well, ups and downs, and so I think it's a hell of a lot better now. There's a lot more support. Clubs are investing more time and money. The PFA, they're investing more time and money to help and support networks. So it's definitely improving. Can it get better? Yes, of course it can. And I think it just shows you as well, a young lad, Ted Smith, who I know really well, and it was sad news to hear one of your former teammates, and I spoke with Ted, and to hear him retiring and at 24, I know he had the injury issues, and I think sometimes as well, the social media is a difficult tool now, and it can be very good and powerful, but it can also do a hell of a lot of damage, and I think there's a lot of irresponsible people out there who seem to just want to go out there and criticise everything. If you haven't got anything good to say, don't say it. Why? But people just seem to sit behind their keyboard or their phones now and think that they can just talk about people however they want and criticise and degrade people. And you don't realise the damage it's doing. It's a form of bullying. If it happens in schools now, it's bullying, and to see the pressures that it's putting on some people, and football's no different. If you're trying to go out there and do your best and you're picking up your phone, as all the youngsters do now, it's the generation, all the lads do, and you're reading comments about how bad you are, or you're no good at this, you're no good at that, you're no good. That's difficult then to go out there and perform in front of how many thousands and switch off, and I think you'd find a lot of people struggle with it. That's why I was never on it, because I just don't think it's negative noise that you don't need. But it's very difficult to handle because that's the way society is now. But there's definitely more support. There's definitely more help. People are being more open. I think it's more acceptable to talk about your issues now and your problems, which is a good thing. And that's got to be encouraged more and more. And hopefully that part of the game will improve. But I think it's always going to be there because there's always going to be the criticism. There's always the pressures. And behind closed doors, people, they sometimes look at football and go, he's getting paid to do what he loves. And don't get me wrong, it's a wonderful job and a great industry. But there's also a lot of, mentally you've got to be tough, you've got to have thick skin if you want to make it. And unfortunately, sometimes people, can't take the pressure of it, and it makes them do like what Ted's done, which is a shame. But good luck to him, and I'm sure he's going to make a success in his coaching career.
And obviously, if you have been affected by any of the issues that some of us may have, obviously I think a lot of us can associate with things like this, me especially. And if it wasn't for that and not speaking out, I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing today, providing interviews with the likes of Adam. So if you need any help or anything, I'll leave the links to the Mind charity in the description. It's free, so go and talk to whoever you like, and our DM's are always open as well. But to finish on a brighter note, Adam, we are going to ask you for your favourite Southend United 11 or the 11 that you've played alongside. So if you'd like to start from the back and work your way up.
So my favourite Southend 11, which I play with, there's going to be some difficult ones in there because I play with a lot of good players and really good guys as well. Goalkeeper for me, Darryl Flahaven. That was probably quite an easy one for myself. He was the best goalkeeper I played in front of. Fantastic shot stopper. I think he had the safest hands, and what I mean by that, he never spilled things. Everything stuck. A lot of goalkeepers parry stuff now and punch things away. Daryl got hold of things. You could play the ball back to him on either foot, and he could deal with it. There was people questioned his height, but for me, that wasn't even an issue. He was a fantastic goalkeeper, and I just had a really good rapport with Daryl. He knew what I was doing. I seemed to know what he was doing, and there was a lot of trust there. So my number one definitely would be Daryl. We go right back. Again, it's hard because we had a couple of years, real successful years, and the likes of Duncan Jupp, Lewis Humpfield in there, who, I've got a hell of a lot of respect for both of them, and tremendous fullbacks when they filled in there. But I think Simon Francis gets my nod. I played with Simon, obviously at Southend and at Bournemouth. And at Southend, I don't really feel he reached his potential. He had so much to offer. He was like a Rolls Royce, he could do everything so easy. But I don't think he really had a focus at the time, and used to talk to him an awful lot. He's a great guy, and I was close with Si. And I think when he come down to Bournemouth, he really started to realise, his potential and what he could do. He had a tough time at Charlton, but I just thought he had everything. Fantastic crosser of the ball, great engine. He was quick. Defensive lapses in concentration at times probably held him back earlier on, but like I said, his all-round game was superb, and so he'd definitely be my right back. Centre half, tough one. There's two guys there. Peter Clark, got to mention Peter. Had a really good partnership with Pete. We complemented each other. Got a lot of time for the lad. He's plays the game the right way. Good professional. So it was a difficult one. I just went with Spencer Pryor, purely because I come in. Spencer was at the latter stages of his career, a lot of experience, and you just can't hide the fact that the success that we had. 2 promotions. We had a really good partnership at the back, very solid. I think we complemented each other at the time. I was younger then. He still had less hair than him, but I was younger then. But he'd be my partner at the back, so it'd be Simon Francis, Spencer, myself. Left back, this is probably one of the toughest ones for me, because it's 2 guys who close with both of them. Ben Coker is one and Shay Wilson's the other. Shay, I played county football with Shay since we was 11, and we've been close friends, still very close now. So to play alongside one of your good mates for a few years was something really, really good for both of us. And it's awkward because 2 different games. If I was having an attacking game, I'd go for Ben, because Ben was going to have more of the football and attack more, because Ben's obviously, I think, better going forward. He had that energy and that little bit of spark and a bit of quality going forward. Whereas if we were sitting in and we were defending, then I'd go Shay. Shay was steady Eddie. He could tackle. He's got this nice guy image, but he was one tough tackler. No one wanted to get on the end of one of his 2-footed challenges in training. A lot of lads jumping out the way. So it's a real tough one, and it's hard to call. But I'd probably just go on the attacking side. I'd probably just go with Ben Coker on that one. 2 great lads as well, really good guys, and have a lot of time for both of them. Left in midfield, I'd go with Mark Gower. Mark was, I think, probably a little bit underrated at times at Southend, but he was also a match winner, great ability. He was a really, really good guy to have around the dressing room, important for the group, a bit of a joker. But yeah, he was another one in a game. He could produce something out of nothing. He'd cut inside on his right foot and deliver a cross, or come up with a fantastic goal. Set piece delivery was excellent, which I benefited from, especially in my first spell, getting on the end of a few. So Mark would be on the left midfield. I'll go right midfield, would be another tough choice. Like I said, the two promotions early on, especially when you had the likes of Cole Pettifer, I thought was underrated, a solid guy who just done his job. Nothing fancy, but 7 out of 10 every week. Defensively, his shape was excellent. and helped others around him. Lee Bradbury filled in there, who was a top pro. You could put Lee up front, wide right and right back, and he'd go and do a good job for you. So they're two guys, but I'll probably go with Jamal Campbell-Rice, just because Jamal had a little something different. Another real lively little character, gives the team a little, he can go past someone, good energy. He was like a little terrier on the pitch, and a good guy off it as well. Had a lot of time for Jamal, and I'll go with Jamal on the right. I thought he'd give us a little something extra. Centre of the park, there's 4 lads that really stick out for me. I'll just give a quick mention to Alan McCormack and Nicky Bailey. Nick was only with us, obviously not too long, but had a real big impact. Goal-scoring midfielder, had a bit of everything. Had a bit of bite, good engine, good with both feet, could score a goal. And him and Alan Macca, is a tenacious midfielder who's gone and had a really good career. And the two of them together were very, it's a tough midfield to come up against them too.
Yeah.
So just had to give them a mention. But the two I'll go with Kev Mayer. Obviously, when I come to the club, Kev was the senior lad there and the captain. And again, you can't ignore the success that we had. The promotions. And I thought Kev was another one who was underrated. I thought he kept the game simple, kept us ticking as a team. There'd be games he might not do anything outstanding or catch the eye, but just he was the constants in the team. He kept the ball really well, very composed. Yeah. Another good set piece delivery on him from corners. So Kev would be in there, and then I'd have to go with Ryan Leonard, who obviously coaching now at Millwall, but Ryan just got a little bit of everything for me. He's got great energy, can get up and down the pitch, can tackle, can score. So and I think there's more to come from him. I don't think he's improving all the time, and a great lad. I got on really well with Ryan, and I think he was a good guy to have in the dressing room. And we're finding that at Millwall now. He's had his injury problems of late, but he's going to be a good player for us. And so I'll go with Ryan and Kevin in the middle of the park. Up top, obviously again there's a few guys that you can mention, but for me, Freddie Eastwood is the obvious one. He'd definitely be in there. Fred was tremendous when he come to the club. Could just win you a game out of nothing. Tight games where it was a 0-0. You knew that if a chance come up, he'd stick it away, and that was the difference. That was the difference between getting promotion or not getting promotion, or being in the playoffs. And the first 2 years, I think Fred just showed what he was all about. He was hungry where he'd come into the game. He played with a freedom. He'd have 1,000 shots a game, and 900 of them would go over the bar. But he had that ability he'd catch one and it would go in the top corner. He was fantastic at driving across the pitch and then reversing it back with his left foot. So he just gave us that belief. When you had him there, you knew that you're always in the game, no matter what happens. If it's tight, if we kept it tight at the back and we were solid, we knew that one opportunity could come up, and he was the man to bury it. And then with him, I'm probably going to have to go. Well, he was only with us a year, but I think just for the pure experience of the guy, the help that he gave Freddie and people like Wayne Gray around him, Sean Gota, obviously a fantastic career at Man City, and he come to us, and even he was at the latter stage of his career, but it was a breath of fresh air. The lads really, we all loved him. He wanted to help the centre forwards. He gave them some real good guidance and help in that year. And the nice thing was, he'd been at Man City, but he come here and he just rolled his sleeves up. It was like he was, just one of the guys. There was no big time Charlie about him, and he fitted in. He just fitted in perfect for that year. So I'll go with Sean and Freddie up top.
Adam, it's been brilliant having you on. Thank you for sharing your stories. Be sure to come back next week for another interview, and we'll see you all next time on Shrimperstalks. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you. Thanks, Liam. Stay safe, everybody. Cheers.